everyone. My name is Abby. Welcome to our Moment of Momentum podcast, Season 2, Episode 3. I'm here with Zac Spohn and Gage Donovan. They'll be answering a couple of my questions for a little bit, having a conversation about both of them being past International Collegiate DECA presidents, where they're at now and where they're going to be in the future. My name is Abby. I'm your Northern Regional Vice President for the state of Minnesota this year. And to start it off, Zac or Gage, do you want to introduce yourselves?
Sure, I'll take it away. Hello, everybody. My name is Gage Donovan. I am a graduated student, now alumnus of the Minnesota State University Moorhead. My time at Minnesota State University Moorhead included many different roles within DECA, starting just as a member, elevating up to the chapter vice president position. In conjunction with that, at the exact same time, I also served as the officer at large for Minnesota Collegiate DECA. And the following year, we had all the great hopes, being able to go down to Atlanta, have ICDC, and I was going to run for International Collegiate DECA president. Of course, that would have been in April 2020. We all know what happened around March 2020, so that was a virtual election cycle. I was fortunate enough to be elected as the 2020-2021 Collegiate DECA International President. Served my term there for a year. It was a very unique year, having to do almost everything in a virtual setting, but I'm sure we'll get some more into that today. As of right now, I currently am living in the Minneapolis-St. Paul metro area, working for a advertising agency.
Awesome. Thank you, Gage.
Well, hello, everybody. My name is Zac Spohn. Currently, I am the president of Collegiate DECA. I'm a senior at Minnesota State University Moorhead right now. My path is pretty similar to Gage's. I started getting involved I've actually been involved in DECA since I was in high school, but I really got involved as a leader in college. I became chapter treasurer, then association president last year here in Minnesota during the virtual year, and now I am the international president of Collegiate DECA. It's been a fun first few months in the role, and I'm excited to head down the home stretch here and finish out the year and eventually graduate from Minnesota State University Moorhead in the spring.
Awesome. Thank you, men. I was going to say boys. Gage, can you tell me about what led up to you earning your current employment position? Did DECA help in that at all?
Sure. As I think many of you might know, if you listened to last year's podcast or if you ever had the chance to speak with me, I actually started at the company I'm currently working at about 18 months ago when I was actively a student and actively currently involved in DECA. I got elected to international office about a month before I got my current role. So it certainly helped me out. I would say some of the biggest pieces that it brought for me is being able to bring in confidence, not only in the interview, but actually in executing your job roles and really being able to understand what's going to be happening at a moment's notice. A lot of times when we're looking at competition in DECA, you don't know exactly what your competition is going to be until about 15 to 30 minutes before you have to present. There's a lot of times in the real world, in the workforce, where you're presented a problem, and you only have about 15 or 30 minutes to have a good solution, or at least have a good plan at how you'll get to that solution. So DECA has really helped me in a lot of ways to, one, first get that job, which actually started as an internship, and then really be able to accelerate that to where I am right now. A few promotions down the line, and I'm actually a manager of a department currently. So it's really been able to help me with being able to execute on my job functions. And then being a leader within Collegiate DECA has really helped me to be a leader within the workforce, being able to figure out how to inspire different people, find out what motivates people, and be able to drive them to do their best, to be able to bring up that one common vision.
That's awesome. I didn't actually know that you were in an agency. Is your job right now based remote, or are you in office?
I'm actually in the office, so I worked virtual all of last year when I was up in Moorhead for school and also executing my international presidential duties. But as of May of this year, I've been full-time in the office We have 96% vaccination rate in the office, which is awesome. So it's really a very safe place to be. And we have about 35 employees. So it's still a small level. A lot of the big regulations you guys hear on the news are for companies that are over 100 employees. So there's different regulations and rules and safety precautions that we're able to take. So that's really great, being able to collaborate with the team. I personally think that being able to be in person is the best way to do it. Bounce ideas off of everybody and really be able to breed that innovation that a small startup company such as the one I'm currently at really needs to be able to flourish.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's good to know. Zach, speaking on COVID, how has that kind of impacted the start of your presidential position? I know Gage kind of handed off a baton in a really weird time in the world. How has that kind of played a role in how you've handled things?
Sure. I mean, it's definitely like a transition year. Last week was not just Collegiate DECA, but DECA Inc.'s like really first big in-person national conference in 2 years. So at Engage last week in Austin, and I think that was a pretty good showcase of what the year might be. There's travel restrictions still in place for some states and some schools where they can't make it, which is tough, and that's why we're still doing a lot of our virtual programming. We're continuing with the One Diamond calls, still building on DECA Connect, but we still plan to do our conferences in person unless something changes. I know most associations are returning to their state conferences in person. I've traveled to a few fall leadership conferences already this fall that have been in person, and really just the regulations in place is just like some places you have to wear a mask, and some places you might get special name tags if you don't want to shake hands or things like that. But it's been a good transition year, and a lot of folks obviously are really excited to be back in person. That was the vibe I got in Austin last week, and it's definitely been different, but I think that I hate to say new normal because it's an exhausted term, but that's definitely sort of what we're dealing with, right? This transition back to in-person conferences, it looks different than it maybe did 2-3 years ago, but that's okay as long as we're making progress and getting back to where we want to be. And we're hoping that culminates in an awesome year for all of our members, and ending the year hopefully in person and with a lot of attendees at ICDC in Baltimore this April.
Awesome. Thank you, Zach. Now another question to both of you, and I guess this is going to be kind of a competition to see who comes up with the best slogan. What is the most vital steps to someone to prepare for roles like the both of yours? So how has DECA kind of transformed? I guess another way of phrasing that is, why should somebody join Collegiate DECA?
I can go first. I would say that Collegiate Tech, I've always said that everything that you will accomplish in your lifetime is something that's always been inside of you. It's nothing new that you're taught. It's nothing new that you learn. And Collegiate DECA is really one of the many avenues you can take to unlock what is inside of you and unlock that potential, be able to release it, be able to see what you're truly able to do. So if I had to give you a one-liner about why you should join Collegiate DECA, it's really to unlock that true potential that's within yourself, whether that's through leadership, or that's through being able to prepare really well-written events, whether that's through being able to execute your confidence through public speaking roles, being able to be on different committees within your chapter, within your association. It will really show you the different path that you want to take, not only in your collegiate journey, but also in life. Being able to be part of a leadership team, even if it's not the most vocal role, it'll really show you where your strengths are and be able to unlock those true passions, even if it's not down the business or leadership route, which a lot of people that are in DECA seem to think that's all it's about. It really has something for everybody and can unlock what's already been inside of you.
Yeah, I'll echo a lot of that. My biggest thing, whether it's however you want to get involved in DECA, if it's competition, if it's leadership, if it's something else, whatever it might be, my advice is always to go for it. All too often, I think people people our age, or like people in all walks of life, they sell themselves short on what they can really accomplish. Like the biggest differentiator I feel like between people that are successful and people that are in really public leadership positions, sometimes it's just like their willingness to take that leap and go for it. Like that sometimes is the toughest part. Like you run for executive office. Like I feel like there's you can succeed. You'll be put in positions to succeed, and it may always be easy, but like you're gonna grow from it and you're gonna be better for it. Like without a doubt. Like I was talking to some folks in the last couple of weeks, and they're like, how did you become so good at public speaking? And I was like taken aback. I was like, I don't think I'm that good of a public speaker sometimes, but like it's like anything, like you practice it, you do it more, you become more comfortable with it, and that's how you become better at it. And that goes for in collegiate DECA, by putting yourselves out there and participating in competitions, leadership, all those things, you're practicing those skills that you're going to need. Like Gage said, no matter whether you're going into a business field or something else, the DECA is going to have something for you to help you no matter what career path you want to choose after college. So again, my advice there is just always to go for it. You won't regret it.
Perfect. I echo both of those. Going back to Zac, I'm going to kind of change another question up. What accomplishments do you feel sets you apart in your preferred industry? So your future employment, what do you think sets you apart from having your DECA experience or any other experience? What's something that you're grateful that you have that you're going to bring to your employment opportunity in the future?
Yeah, I think so much of understanding what a leader is, it can be a lot of trial and error. Like part of like all the different leadership roles I've held in DECA and other things now these last few years, like you learn how to work with a lot of different types of people and different sets of people. And I think that that's something that really leadership roles set you apart no matter like where you're sort of going. But like I feel like in DECA, like you're really putting yourself out there and you're leading teams and doing really big projects. Like I think that sets anyone apart when you have led teams that are diverse, led teams that have different perspectives, different backgrounds, and have like different skills. Like I think my officer team would be the first to tell you that we all have a very different set of skills, but that's what makes a team, right? And understanding how to get the best out of everyone, that's what leaders really do. And I think that I've had lots of trial and error and experience in doing that these last few years. So I think that that's a big thing that I can always stress to set myself apart. And that's why I think getting involved in leadership, even if you're not sure if it's involved for you, is something that all students should try and do, because it really is a differentiator when you get out into the workforce after college.
Awesome. Thank you, Zac. Gage, do you have anything to add? What accomplishments do you feel set you apart in your industry?
Sure. A couple of notes I'd like to add, just kind of being out in my industry, actually working for the past 18 months is going to be, if you try to be perfect, that's really going to be the enemy of being able to accomplish anything. You have to be able to make sure that you can master your task, you can master your role, but you don't have to be perfect about it. Don't spend too much time on it. Make sure that you have exactly what you need to do and be able to move forward with it. And then the second piece I have, moving into a more of a managerial role recently, and being part of hiring and really examining how teams operate, is being very curious is going to be really paramount to anybody that's starting any new sort of industry or new endeavor. Ask as many questions as possible and really poke your nose, maybe not exactly where your job role is supposed to take you, because you'd be surprised what kind of opportunities that'll open up if somebody else sees you being very interested in that particular field. And then finally, being able to take initiative. I look at really any field. You can look at DECA, you can look at jobs, you could look at a profession, like maybe even like professional athletes, something that you're really ingrained in. There's obviously a summation of 100% of the people. About 80% of the people are going to do their job. They're going to show up and do exactly what they're supposed to do. About 10% of those people that you encounter, you're going to want to strangle because they do not do their job. They do something bizarrely the opposite. And there's another 10%, which is going to be the top 10%, that really sparkle. They go above and beyond what their job roles are strictly defined as. They're able to bring the company, the organization, whatever subset of people you're with above. Then they end up rising to the top, and then they're the ones that are going to be leading our businesses and really leading us into this new age, whether that be in technology, whether that be in supply chain, which is really paramount right now if you're following today's news and everything that's happening. So that's really what I would say. Be able to make sure, don't always try and be perfect, be very curious and take initiative.
That's good advice that I needed to hear. Awesome. Now a kind of lighthearted question. What do you guys like to do for fun? Do you have fun? What's like 2 things you like to do?
Sure. I'm probably going to steal one of Zach's answers. I think for both of us, one of the big getaways is being able to watch sports. It's a relaxing thing that you can do, but if you want to, you can still take it to another level and analyze everything that's happening. Every week, Zach and I go back and forth about the week's NFL games, about what we think the power rankings should be, how specific teams are being managed and organized, analyzing what we would do if we were in the general manager's shoes. And then outside of that, I really like to just be able to relax. I have a cat, I have a girlfriend, I like to hang out with them, kind of just have some time. In the past, I would say about 6 months, I've become very detached from my phone. I've deleted most social media. I don't go on it at night before bed. It's not the first thing I do in the morning. And that's really unlocked a lot more focus and time for me. I'm sure a lot of people have heard that you should become less attached to your phone and social media. It kind of just organically happened for me. And I think that's probably the best way for it to happen for everybody. You just eventually find out I'm wasting my time here on some things. And I still have some social media. I still do spend some time on my phone. That's the part of time that I find a lot of value in. So that time, even though it's less now than it was, I would say is part of what I like to do for fun as well.
Yeah, good. I mean, Gage said it. I mean, we're both huge sports fans, religious Minnesota sports fans. It's a painful endeavor most of the time, but it's a good way to unwind, and I do find that sports are a good way to just detach from, I'm never gonna be worried about something else going on in my life when I'm watching sports. I don't know why. It's a good way for me to check out. I'm a big movie fan too. I love going to the movies. And I do get that question all the time, what do you do for fun? You seem like you're so busy. And Abby's probably laughing because Abby has asked me that before. She's like, you lunatic, do you work too much? But I think that I wouldn't work and be as busy as I was if I didn't really truly enjoy what I was doing. If I being VP of Student Senate, president of Collegiate DECA, helping run a nonprofit. I think if I wasn't passionate about those things, I wouldn't want to do them, and as a result, I wouldn't be as busy. So knowing that and using that as a level set is always good with people. Not a lot of people always get that, but if you're passionate about what you do, it doesn't always feel like work. You can be busy and love what you're doing, and that's enough. But yeah, I'm still a big sports fan. That's definitely how I turn off most of the time too, though.
There you go. Yes, I wasn't laughing at you. I was laughing with you. But that's a good segue too. You spoke of a nonprofit. What is your nonprofit? Who are the co-creators of the nonprofit? Would you like to touch on that for me for a minute?
Yeah. Gage and I are co-founders of a nonprofit called Change the Culture. Change the Culture is a 501c3 nonprofit incorporated in the state of Minnesota. We seek to give back to, Gage and I went to the same high school. We seek to give back to our hometown community by providing academic scholarships to students who we felt have made a positive impact, positive change in their community, and change the culture. We think that that's the biggest leap of faith, and the biggest impressive thing that you can do as a leader is be the positive change you want to see in the world. And as a result, we seek to give back to those students and hopefully empower them to go to college, get their degree, and do great things with the world. Gage could probably give you more background about it if he wants.
Sure. I think really the great part about our story with Change the Culture is that it kind of started between Zach and I while we were still in high school. Kind of cultivated this saying and really what we envisioned ourselves being able to do, be able to change the culture around the community, around the school district, to really make that community and school district the place that people wanted to be. And then we moved into our collegiate years, our first year at Minnesota State University Moorhead, and collaboratively we decided it would be the right thing to do to be able to start a scholarship fund. Even though, we're college students, we don't have a lot of extra money laying around.
We had no money laying around.
We were able to scrape some up, and we're able to provide a scholarship for that very first year, not as a nonprofit, so just purely out of our pockets, just we thought it was the right thing to do. And it was actually sparked at that ceremony where a few people spoke with us and wondered how they'd be able to contribute and be able to help for years to come. So that's when we started looking into starting the official 501c3 nonprofit. Now we have donors such as various local businesses and individuals that all really help to contribute, and then the board were able to decide how to distribute those funds equitably throughout the community. So that's definitely something we're both very passionate about, and something we do for fun.
Awesome. I like hearing about it. I think that's pretty cool. But wonderful. What is your favorite thing about your job? One of you can talk about your presidential positions, being on a state officer team, or Zach, you're not currently employed yet, but you have a future career in mind. But if you want to speak on that, what's your favorite thing about your job or role?
100%, no doubt about it, is people that I work with. If anybody's ever spoken with me, or if you can tell now, I really like to talk, really like to have that connection with people. So being able to work not just with my immediate coworkers, but the clients that I get to interact with on a day-to-day basis, being able to have that great conversation about what's going on in their lives, know something personal about them outside of business, not just strictly talking numbers and strictly talking what results can we provide for you, what are you looking for from us. It motivates you to be able to, when you get up in the morning, you're excited to go in. You're excited for the people that you're about to see. And that's one thing that I think work from home, my personal opinion, you're lacking that in some sense. You do still get to talk to people via video call, but it's much shorter. You have a specific time window. You really have to cut to the chase much faster. You're not able to come in, have that lunch hour to really chat with everybody. So outside of the work that I actually do, that's the most fulfilling part of the day for me when I'm at the office, is being able to connect with all the various different people. So I really look forward to that every day.
Yeah, I mean, I basically have the same answer. Like the best part of my like being an officer, being president of a nationwide organization with thousands of members, is definitely like the people you get to work for and the people that you meet along the way. Like I work for the members, like that's sort of my job, right? And like the doing that and meeting folks from all across the country and hearing their stories and making those connections that I know I'm going to be able to utilize and grow going forward, like that's what my job's all about. Like I've been involved in DECA for a long time now, like, and they're like since I was a sophomore in high school, so like this will be like 7 years when it's all said and done, which is crazy. Like there's no way I'd still like stay involved if it wasn't for the people you meet along the way. Like no one does the same thing for that long if they're not enjoying the people they're around. And I think that's the biggest thing that has made me stick around. Like I get great joy from like being around the people you get to be around because of DECA, and just seeing the impact that it makes on other people, and now leading and being a big part of that is by far one of the most rewarding things that I get to do in my job. And it's hard to imagine having a cooler job than this in the future. So it's pretty great.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thinking on DECA in itself and the competition based, what competitions did you guys compete in, and do you have any competition advice?
Oh boy, do we. Gage and I, well, we had both done different things throughout high school and into college. Gage, I can talk about prepared events if you want, Gage, and you can talk about your role plays and case studies and that sort of thing. We both have experience in either. I did a lot of prepared events in high school and college, which is a little bit different. Now a lot of people don't use those, but I always say, like, my biggest thing is have confidence, know your performance indicators on your sheet, and go for it. And we talked about it at Engage last week. Like, there have been studies about like what makes a competitor like successful, and Matt Moliner shared a whole bunch of tips and like what makes DECA competitors great. And like he even said it, like the biggest, like the folks that win are the folks that prepare the most. And like you can't teach someone that, but there are things along the way that you can do. But just know that preparing and really honing your craft is the best thing you can do to be successful in DECA competition. But as far as prepared events goes, like, have a plan or plan to fail, however that saying goes. Like, that's huge, especially in those prepared events. Like, there's things you have to do along the way that you just can't leave to the end. You have to do that, and finding a answer to the solution that, and this goes for case studies too, but finding an answer to the solution that is unique. Like, don't just go with your first solution. Like, everyone's going to do that. You want yours to stand out, and because judges are going to hear all kinds of different answers and solutions throughout the day, and yours needs to stand out. You can't just be some variation of the same one everyone else is going to have, because you have to explain why yours is the best, right? So it needs to be unique. It needs to stand out, and you need to convince the judge that it would actually work. So those are some things I would suggest for sure.
Yeah, I think those are all really great, Zach. When we're looking specifically at a role play or a case study, some really key points that I have that would also be translated into whether it's going to be a job interview or a meeting with your boss in the future or somebody in your workplace is you have to own it. That plan is yours. Just like you're going to own yourself in the interview, you're going to own the business plan that you're presenting. It's going to be yours. And you also want to make sure it's memorable. So as soon as you walk into that room and you sit down with the judge, you shake their hand, and you have that first little bit of casual conversation, which is very important. Don't just dive right into specifically the business and the plan. Have a bit of casual conversation with them. Ask them how the drive-in was. If you happen to know where they're from, ask them about a local sports team. Really be able to build up that rapport, and then find out exactly what they want to hear. Tailor your response to how they want to hear. If you're halfway into your pitch and you can tell that they're kind of disengaged, they have their arms linked up like this, you're going to need to pivot. That's going to be something that's really important, is being able to be very prepared in that 30 minutes that you have to prepare, but also be ready to pivot based off of what the judge says. When I would come in, I would always have 1 to 3 different ways that the presentation would go. My favorite way, if the judge is really loving it, and then 2 backups depending on what I feel, whether it's more extreme of what I was already starting to pitch or less extreme. And that's really key, as Zach said, know your performance indicators. Even if it's a performance indicator that you're like, I have no idea what this is. They just put me into the finance event, and I have no idea what some of these certain terminology means. Make sure to use the buzzwords. If you literally just say the words after you leave and they're filling out their performance sheet and they see this, they'll be like, oh, he said something about that. You get more points than nothing. And really try to be memorable. One of my favorite examples is somebody that Zach and I actually went to high school with. After he walked in for his role play, he shook the judge's hand. The judge never asked him to take a seat. So he did the entire role play standing up. That's memorable. Did it work? I don't remember. But it's something that's certainly memorable, and the judge is going to remember that. But not saying I would recommend that technique. If they don't ask you to sit down, ask if you can take a seat. But really try and have something that'll make you stand out. And then one thing that Zach and I always did is find something, of course, not of monetary value, that you can leave with the judge. So then at the end of the day, let's say you have a tie with somebody else, you're like, oh, I remember a little bit more about these guys, and that'll be able to be something that'll push you over the edge.
Yeah, and there's one other thing that's very, very important, and I always forget to reiterate this because to me this goes without saying, but I know to a lot of members it doesn't. You have to close. You have to close. You have to make the ask. Be like, are you on board with my solution? Or if you're selling them something, do you want to buy this? Whatever it is, you have to close and you have to get them to yes. That's the whole point of the role play, right? To convince them that your solution it works, that you can do it. You have to close for that reason.
And keep going until they say yes.
Yes.
Like an example of one time we were presenting with Zach, and he was boxing out the people that were telling him he was out of time until the judge agreed that they agreed with his plan. Get them to say yes. Be really convincing. If it's this real-world example, you only have 30 minutes. If you're at minute 29, you don't have a yes, you're not signing off that meeting. You're going to close the deal. So be able to be more pushy at the end. That's something that they're going to remember, and they're really going to understand that you are a true competitor and you're really prepared for the workforce, which is what competition is all about.
Yeah, and like Gage says, like it might not be a yes right away, and this is like, it can be a scary thing to be like, okay, how do I get you to yes? Because you don't always know how that's going to go, but that's how you win, is by setting yourself apart, putting yourself there to be like, and they share your concerns, and you try to alleviate those concerns to get them to the yes, because that's the whole ball game, really. Like, that's what separates good competitors that might make the stage of finalists and those ones that have glass at the end of the year that are holding it on top of the podium. That's really the difference right there.
Awesome. You guys are very enthusiastic about case studies and have good advice for competition. So I'm excited for competition coming up. Only our state conference and career development conference, but ICDC as well. So moving on, do you have a mentor? And if so, how have they helped you? Is it DECA related or academic related?
Sure. I mean, first thing, never just flat out ask someone to be your mentor. That's weird. Don't do that. Like, mentors are like, I don't like always think about someone as like a mentor, like with that label, but like, I guess in a way, like, they are, like, mentors are really just like people that you might look up to, or people that are like in some position of authority above you that you have built a relationship with and you might do things for, and then they give you some piece of advice that you want to follow. That's what a mentor really is. I have mentors. I'm sure Gage has mentors. Like, we have DECA advisors and things like that. I mean, there's we all have mentors, but like, the biggest thing is like, understand what a mentor is. I feel like there's like this preconceived notion that like a mentor is like someone that you like just say, you're my mentor now and you do this for me. Like, the world doesn't actually work like that.
I think the biggest thing building up to having a good mentor is being able to build up great trust with someone, be able to, again, go back to those 3 principles that I brought up earlier. Don't strive for perfection, be very curious, and then finally be able to breed innovation and really be able to have good initiative. Because when somebody is in a position to be a mentor to you, they're in a position to be a mentor to a lot of people. So if you're in that position, somebody that's not in our positions to be a mentor, they're looking out at people and they're really deciding, who do I want to share this knowledge, all this expertise that I have with? Because really, being a mentor, they don't tangibly get a lot out of it, except for being able to see whoever the mentee is grow and mold into this person that they know they can be. So again, it comes down to that mentor is going to be someone that's unlocking pieces that are already inside of you. So what you'll do, it'll really organically fall into place. I would say I currently have about like one true mentor that it organically just falls into place. They want what's best for you. They'll seek you out in a room where there's other people that you may think are similar to you, but they can understand that you're the person they want to incite their wisdom, their knowledge, and their expertise too. So it's really a big give relationship on the mind of the mentee. And one of the biggest things that my mentor shared with me is you never have to say thank you for something that you've earned. Your right hand doesn't thank your left hand for carrying a big box up the stairs, right? So if you build up this relationship with somebody, of course, make sure that you're able to show that you really care and you really value your time and connection with this person. But don't constantly be saying, thank you, I appreciate it, all of this stuff, because that's not what they're looking for. That's not why they're in this. They're in this to see where you're able to grow to, and that's really what they want to see, to be able to get value out of the relationship on their end.
Good advice, gentlemen. Next question. What surprised you the most about your position? Again, positions being your position as a leader or job. What surprised you the most on where you're at now? If you don't really have an answer, we can go to the next question.
I'll have a good answer. That 80-10-10 sort of rule that I was explaining to you guys earlier, about 80% of people do their jobs, 10% of people you want to strangle because they don't do their jobs, 10% of people sparkle. That's something I had never thought of before, but it's something that it's really surprising that it's true. And you find that 80% of people that just do their job, it feels like they're doing less than you if you're in the 10% that do a lot more. So being able to understand that it's not bad what they're doing, and you still have to be able to respect them, has definitely been a surprise for me, I would say.
Yeah, that's a good one, and another one that I definitely surprised that I've had, like especially in this specific position as president of Collegiate DECA. Like, I don't want to discourage anyone from running or anything. Don't get me wrong, best job in the world, but like it is a little bit like lonely or weird because like your amount of peers really shrinks when you're running and leading an organization like that. Like, not that I hold myself above anyone or anything else, but like the things you go through your day to day is just way different than that of a normal DECA member, and like recognizing that, and like it's a little bit weird because like even like at Engage, like the amount of times that like people said to me like, oh, you're not what I expected, you're just like a normal person. I'm like, well, what did you expect? So like having like don't get me wrong, like leadership, I think the best way to always think about it is that it is a very cool responsibility, and with that responsibility comes a different set of expectations and a different set of like situations, I guess. Like you go through things that other people don't, so like just understanding that before you run for office or anything like that, I think is cool. But don't get me wrong, it's always a privilege, and it's definitely not a reason that I would ever regret this role. And I think I'll definitely look back at it and be like, it was a privilege. Like anything else was trivial. So yeah.
Awesome. Okay, I have two more questions, and then I will let you guys go for the night. But where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years? I'm not sure if my Wi-Fi cut out.
No, I got it. No, that one just takes a little bit more of a thinker for both of us, I'm sure. I think about that myself personally and get asked that question rather often. And I always find myself thinking not in the professional sense. So that's how I'll answer that question again, because I think that the non-professional sense to me is more important. So in 10 years, I see myself being married with probably a couple kids and a house. And on the professional side of things, we'll see where things take us. I think the older you get into the workforce and the relationships you build, you'll realize that is not the most important thing, to me at least. There are some people that they value their career, that's what they're committed to. That's completely okay. That's just not the way that I look at it.
Yeah, and I get that question all the time too, especially since I'm still in school, and it's like, let you know and I know, man. Like it totally can change, right? Like especially in like the world that we live in now, where like job hopping and everything is the norm. Like the average person spends no more than a few years at their job in our generation, which is unique and makes it tough to predict where you might be in 5 years or whatever. Like currently my plan after my term is and I graduate is to go to law school, and then we'll see where I go from there. Obviously the thing you do after that is become a lawyer, but we'll see what I use that law degree for. I mean, there's a lot of different things you can do with that, and I'm not sure what that path will be for me yet, and it could change very easily. There's definitely like this pressure to have all the things figured out, especially when you get towards a graduation or you get to like this part of our lives where we're like getting into our 20s, and it's like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? But like, I always stress that if you believe in yourself, you believe in your abilities, that's the most important thing, and the rest will figure itself out. So that's my plan now, but disclaimer, it could change, and that's totally okay. I tell people that too. Like, cannot be afraid to change course and pivot, like we always say now, because I mean that's all people have done the last couple of years for sure. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, that's great advice. I kind of kept you for like 45 minutes, I believe. Do you have any last minute advice to kind of wrap up things? Collegiate DECA members watching, post International Collegiate DECA president and current president. If you have any last minute advice for those watching, what would that be?
I would say that no matter what you're going to do in life, as you keep moving forward, try and get into a good routine. Okay. If that routine is you wake up every morning, you read the paper. If that routine is you wake up every morning, you go to the bathroom and you shower, whatever it is, be able to be in a very set routine, because that's just going to make everything in life go a lot more smooth, take a lot more of the stresses out of the day-to-day. There's some bigger things in life and stresses that'll come up that there's nothing you can do to plan for. There's nothing you can do to change that. But if you're able to eliminate some of the smaller things, whether that's taking a longer route to work or wherever you're going in a day to avoid traffic and avoid some potential stresses there, I think really the key is to eliminate the stresses that you can eliminate, so that way you can focus your time on what you value and what you find important. And then, Abby, I will say, I have to add something. I read the list of questions you're going to ask, and you asked if you had a recommendation of like a subscription to subscribe to. And I want to say the Morning Brew is one that I'm recently on. Recently, in the past couple of months, I think it is the best subscription to have if you just want to read the headlines and still be able to get enough of the story for it to make sense and be able to have meaningful conversation. So that's my recommendation. It's also free. So there's that.
I've seen ads for that on Instagram, and I wanted to know if it was actually worth it. It's an app, or does it go to your emails?
I get an email. Yep.
Oh, nice. Mm-hmm. Zach, any advice? Do you have a routine?
Not a good one. I've been involved in too much going on for me to have a set routine. I do find I'm much more productive when I do have like a set routine, and I get up at the same time and go to bed at the same time and those sort of things. Not very consistent with that these days. I wish I was more consistent. It's something I'm always working on. One piece of advice I will echo, I have a couple things. First, the most important thing I've found biggest barrier to success I find for way more people than I would have expected is just like their willingness to take that first leap and do whatever that's going to be, whether that's to do a DECA competition, whether that's to apply for that job, jump into a leadership position, do it. I think that the biggest barrier people set up for themselves is their own self. Take that leap, believe in yourself, and that's how you grow. So first of all, do that. And then Gage basically said this, but control what you can control. Focus on what you can control. I have so much going on in my life all the time that I really have to make a conscious effort to focus on what I can control and what I can be working on at that time. Because you don't get me wrong, you plan for the future, but you can go crazy pills with that if you go too far out with everything you have going on. Focus on what you can control, do the best you can in the moment, and that's in my opinion, that's how you be successful, is you focus on what you control and succeed in the moment with whatever it is you're trying to do every single day, and the rest really takes care of itself.
Perfect. You guys are inspiring. Awesome. Okay, well, that is my moment of momentum for season 2, episode 4. Thank you, Gage and Zac, for taking some time out of your day and your busy schedules to let me ask you a bunch of random questions, but I got something out of it, and I hope our viewers did as well.
Awesome. Thank you very much for having us. It's always a pleasure.
Yes.
Always fun. Thank you, Abby.
Thank you.